She was sitting on a kitchen chair, her stomach in her hands, tears streaming down her cheeks. The parents, noticing the unusual pallor and hoarse breathing of their daughter, immediately understood the serious matter. "Mom, it hurts so much." Her weak voice barely audibly cut through the silence. Her father picked her up in his arms like a small doll and hurried to the car. Every meter of the path seemed like an eternity. Heartbeat. The parent's breath was getting shorter, and his thoughts were racing from one terrifying option to another. In the hospital, the reception. The department met them with their usual haste and the noise of monitors, but for this family, time seemed to have stopped. Nurses rushed to them, helping to put the girl on a gurney, measuring temperature, pressure and oxygen saturation. The doctor, seeing the condition of the child, immediately conducted an examination. The stomach was tense, almost hard, and the child almost did not move from the pain. His face was a mixture of anxiety and determination. The symptoms were unusual, and standard protocols weren't enough. Blood and urine tests took several tense minutes, which seemed like hours to the parents. "What can it be?" asked the mother, squeezing her husband's hands. Unable to hold back tears. The doctor cautiously said that for the time being. "Cannot say anything, but the picture causes serious concern." The test results showed anomalies that did not fit into the usual diagnoses. All this increased anxiety. No single hypothesis explained the full range of symptoms. Silence reigned in the waiting corridor, interrupted only by the occasional footsteps of nurses and the hum of equipment. The parents sat next to each other, holding hands, not daring to let go of each other. Every look at her daughter was painful. "She is." I tried to smile, but the pain made it almost impossible. Doctors discussed further steps among themselves. More accurate imaging techniques, ultrasound, and possibly CT scans will be required. The solution was obvious. You can't postpone it. The situation required immediate attention. When the girl was led to the examination room, she climbed up on the table with difficulty. The parents' hearts were pounding so hard that it seemed that everyone around hears him. They tried to talk to her soothingly, but they could hardly hold back their tears. "We're close, honey, everything will be fine," whispered the mother, trying not to betray her own fear. The girl nodded, clenching her palms into fists, as if she was trying to keep the pain inside. During the preparation for the ultrasound, the doctors explained to the parents that the results could be unexpected, but the details they could not give, so as not to sow unnecessary panic. The nurse carefully applied the gel to the baby's abdomen. The device is quiet. Buzzed, creating a feeling of tense anticipation. The parents held hands, not taking their eyes off their daughter. Each time the screen flashed and showed an image of the internal organs, the anxiety increased. A senior doctor was standing next to the machine. Studying the painting carefully, he winced, making notes and exchanging glances with colleagues. "Something's wrong here," he said quietly, almost to his own tray, and immediately looked up at his parents, trying not to show panic. But even professional eyes could not hide their surprise. What they saw on the screen did not have the usual explanation. At that moment, the girl whispered softly, "Mom, I'm scared." Her voice was weak, but filled with real fear. Her parents bent over her, stroked her head, trying to convey all your love and confidence that everything will be fine. His father's heart clenched. For the first time, he felt completely helpless. The medical team quickly discussed the strategy. A more detailed examination using tomography is needed to understand the nature. Unusual objects found inside the abdomen. The parents nodded, although they did not fully understand what awaited them next. Everything inside was tense to the limit. Every breath seemed too loud in this oppressive silence. So, in a small room of the hospital, a process began that would change the life of the whole family. No one knew what exactly awaited ahead, but it was already clear that the situation was extraordinary and required maximum concentration and composure. While the girl was lying, squeezing her parents' hands, the world around her slowed down. The path to solving the mystery has begun, which will soon shock everyone who will witness its outcome. After an initial examination, it became clear that standard methods did not give a complete picture. Doctors decided to carry out CT scans to get a more accurate image of the internal organs. The girl was tense, clutching the hands of her parents, who were sitting next to her and whispering words of comfort softly. Every sound of the device, every click and hum created a feeling of expectation of something unusual. This was not an ordinary case. It was felt at the level of instinct. When the doctor started the CT scanner, the parents tried to distract their daughter with conversations, jokes and soft smiles, but she herself. The girl felt an anxiety that could not be hidden. "Mom, Dad, does it hurt?" she asked quietly. Her mother just hugged her and said, "No, honey, it's just a machine, it's just taking pictures. We are near." Father's heart contracted at every movement of the apparatus, at every moment of expectation. Time passed slowly, as if slow breathing was pulling them into their own world of anxiety. When the images finally appeared on the screen, the senior doctor felt something snap inside. It was something he hadn't expected to see. On the monitor, objects that did not look like ordinary cysts, tumors or foreign bodies they have ever encountered. A team of doctors gathered around the screen, quietly discussing the details and trying to rationalize what they saw. "It's impossible," muttered one of the young surgeons, as if checking himself to see if he had misheard. Parents stood nearby, intensely watching the doctors. Each of them tried to catch at least the slightest hint of an explanation, but the professionals could not say anything yet. The objects inside the girl's abdomen looked strange, unusual and anomalous. They did not lend themselves to the usual classification, and this caused anxiety not only for the parents, but also for the medical team. The doctor who conducted the examination carefully explained to the parents that it was necessary to perform an operation to remove these objects and understand their nature. "We understand your concern, but there is no other way out," he said, trying not to panic, but the feeling of unpredictability hung in the air. The parents nodded, though there was a mixture of fear and determination in their eyes. They understood that any delay could be dangerous for the child. Before the operation, the girl was taken to the preparatory ward. She tried smile, but the pain and fear were stronger. The nurses carefully stroked her hands, calmed her down with soft words and offered her favorite toy to distract her. The parents did not move a single step, held their daughter's hands and whispered words of love and support, feeling how the tension in their chest grows by the second. When the operation began, the atmosphere in the operating room was electrified. The light fell brightly on the table, the equipment hummed quietly, and the doctors moved with the most concentrated precise movements. Each step was calculated, each manipulation was extremely accurate. Strange objects inside the girl's abdomen required caution. Their nature was unknown, and the risk of complications remained high. The surgeons slowly examined the internal organs, each time pausing to make sure that traffic safety. Soon they reached the area where the objects were located. The heart of everyone present beats faster. The feeling of excitement and anticipation was growing. The senior doctor's face was a mixture of surprise and alarm. Inside there was something so unusual that it questioned all the usual medical knowledge. The parents stood behind a glass partition, clasping each other's hands, looking at their daughter through the transparent window. Each movement of the surgeon seemed to them infinitely long. Every moment was filled with anxiety and hope at the same time. The girl tried to remain calm, but her little fingers trembled, squeezing the palms of her parents. As the objects were carefully extracted and shown to the team, the room fell silent. No one could immediately understand what it was. It was something they had never seen before. The doctors exchanged glances, realizing that this was a rare and unusual case, causing a mixture of anxiety and surprise. Parents froze. Not daring to look into the hands of the surgeons right away, their hearts were ready for shock. Thus, for several tense hours, the medical team faced a mystery hidden inside a small body, which soon will turn everyone's idea of what is possible. The girl, her parents, and doctors were on the verge of discovery, which will shock everyone who witnesses this story. As surgeons carefully removed the objects from the girl's abdomen, silence reigned in the operating room, which was physically palpable. All eyes were on what was in the hands of the medical team. It was something completely unexpected, strange, and incredible. The doctors froze, not believing their eyes, discussing among themselves what they had just seen. None of them could immediately find a rational explanation. Parents stood behind a glass partition, clutching each other's hands. Her mother's heart was barely beating, her breath was short, and tears were rolling down her cheeks. She could hardly believe that all this was really happening. The father looked at his daughter, who was lying on the table with pale, but already calm face. His hands were trembling and his thoughts were racing. How could this be inside a child, and how dangerous is it for her life? Doctors began to carefully examine the extracted objects. They looked completely alien to humans' body, nor the tumors of the body of the knife form that they had encountered before. The head doctor said discreetly, "None of us have seen anything like it." His voice was trembling as he tried to maintain professionalism. Colleagues looked at each other, realizing that they had encountered something rare and unique. The girl began to gradually recover from anesthesia. She opened her eyes, a little blinded by the bright light of the operating room. Her mother immediately grabbed her hand, gently stroking her head, and her father whispered words of comfort softly. "Mommy, Daddy, what was that?" she asked quietly, barely moving her lips. The parents smiled through their tears, trying to convey the feeling of security and love that was most important now. The doctors explained that the operation was successful and that the child was at risk of fewer complications than they feared. However, the nature of the objects remains a mystery. Further tests should provide answers. The parents listened to the words of professionals, trying to realize that their daughter was safe, despite all the strangeness and unusualness of what had happened. Inside them, relief, fear, and admiration were mixed that the medical team had coped with such a difficult task. When the girl was able to sit down for the first time and see her parents nearby, her small arm wrapped around her mother's neck, and her father held her tightly by the shoulders. "I was so scared," she whispered, and her parents just stroked her hair, feeling incredibly relieved. Each breath seemed like a new gift of life, a moment they would remember forever. The team of doctors discussed the find for a long time, trying to find a logical explanation. This case was not only a test of professionalism, but also a reminder that the human body is capable of to keep secrets that sometimes surprise even the most experienced doctors. The parents vowed to always take care of their daughter and remember how fragile and valuable life can be. Thus ended this tense and shocking story. What no one expected to see inside a little girl was a lesson for everyone. Sometimes reality turns out to be more surprising than any assumptions, and the miracle is hidden where you do not expect it at all.